From the studios of the Department of Communication in Phillipsburg, welcome to Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvaria Jacobs.
Good afternoon, St. Martin. I'm Cedric Peterson, alongside the Prime Minister of St. Martin, the Honorable Sylvaria Jacobs, and we welcome you to this edition of Prime Minister Talks. Prime Minister, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Cedric. Good afternoon, St. Martin. And as we're rounding off this week, I would like to say an advanced, happy, and safe weekend to all.
It is indeed been a busy week, politically charged, and making sure that we continue our negotiations with the Netherlands. Let's get right into our program for this episode. How are the negotiations, PM, surrounding the second and third tranche of conditions for liquidity support going?
Well, that has been quite some controversy. There has been little opportunity for St. Martin to have much negotiations, seeing the fact that in the last Kingdom of Council of Ministers meeting, the State Secretary, with the mandate of the Rijksministeraat, as you would say, the Council of Ministers of the Kingdom, stated that they would not further negotiate with us until we had met all of the conditions for the second and third tranche, even as they continue to negotiate with Curacao, who also had not met all the conditions for the second tranche. We have, in the meantime, submitted our, let's say, infilling, they would call it, how we are filling in the conditions more in line with the way the Netherlands, or I should say the CFT, has been insisting, because we were able to agree, or the Netherlands was actually able to agree with the proposal of our finance minister in a couple of areas that the CFT interpreted differently. So that has been, let's say, a trial in patience for our finance ministry and his team in the discussions with the CFT, as there constantly seemed to be an interpretation differential that put us in a negative light at most turns. So at the last Council of Ministers meeting, they did not even listen to our proposal, as you know, based on the same reason. And so yesterday, or today, Friday, in the meeting of the Kingdom Council of Ministers, they had not yet received our responses from the CFT, and so we're waiting on that. However, it is still clear. I have been having discussions with the State Secretary. I met with him via telephone last week, Saturday. The staff has been in contact with his staff. The plenipotentiary minister and his cabinet has been also in contact. So we continue to attempt to have discussions, and we continue to get the same message that as long as we're not going in the direction that has been proposed on the 10th of July, that the Netherlands is not willing to have negotiation, quote unquote, talks. So we continue to do what we have to do, at least to meet the conditions that had been set for the funds that we've already received in the second tranche. And then once those have been closed off, our plenipotentiary minister did ask that the Rijksministeraat mandate the State Secretary to continue discussions with us.
Prime Minister, you talked about the fact that there are still some issues also with the sister islands of Curacao and Aruba.
Yes.
Can you give insight in regard to what are the challenges they're experiencing in the negotiation process?
And this is something that we have been in very, very close contact with. So if three of us are talking and we know Aruba went into negotiations right after the meeting of the 10th of July, they were in serious financial issues. They also had two kingdom consensus laws being thrown at them, one that would heighten the, let's call it the responsibilities or the reporting, or make it even stricter for them where borrowing is concerned, similar to us. So they have more lenient measures than we do under their RAFT. We have much stricter measures, and with this new consensus law, the Dutch are trying to strengthen, so they are getting two. So Aruba went into direct negotiations and have not been successful either in getting anything. I'm sure many have been following Prime Minister Waver Cruz's recent statements yesterday and today that they are totally flabbergasted by the way they've been treated by the Netherlands. And this is something, as three prime ministers, that we have been discussing. So we've been following all that they have been attempting in terms of making adjustments to the legislation. We've also noted some of the same issues. And if that's all they're going to allow for us, we can send that. But if you've already rejected it from the Aruba and Curacao, what sense does it make for us to say we do not agree with this article or that article because of whatever reason? The high level difference between Curacao and Aruba and St. Martin, the differences there is that St. Martin is seen as the island that is best able to bounce back. And if you look at the percentage of the funding that was needed, Aruba and Curacao needed much more than we needed at the time. If you look back, you will see that in total, we've received only 63 million, while Aruba, for instance, has received 245 million and was requesting 204 million for the next 3 months. And Holland switched up on them again and said they only needed for 5 months. They could only get that same amount of money for over 5 months. And that also threw Aruba into a stalemate, tailspin in the last couple of days, because they were actually expecting that they would have been further along with all of the negotiations that they have been doing. But this just proves to me that regardless, even though they are painting St. Martin as the ones not complying, not doing this and not doing that, what St. Martin has been doing is questioning them on the core issues from the very beginning. Aruba and Curacao have both been trying to play nice, have both been trying to meet them, have discussions. But if after that discussion, you're not 1 inch further, what has been the added value of all these discussions over time? All three of us still have the same stance. All three of our parliaments still feel that this is totally way out of proportion to what the goal is of this entity. All of us feel that we should separate COVID-19 relief to any relief that is given or any funding that is given in relation to necessary reforms. And all three of our countries believe wholeheartedly that reforms are necessary, just not tied to the emergency that we're in now, or forcing a consensus where there is no consensus.
Prime Minister, quickly, I want to hone in on something you said concerning the strength, what I would identify as a strength based on what you said. When considering St. Martin's situation, St. Martin is more capable of bouncing back. And you highlight what our strengths are that allows that.
Okay, so actually before 2017, before the hurricane, St. Martin was well on its way for a lot more of the financial management that had been, let's say, the argument prior to 2017. We'd had 2 years of a balanced budget. We were well into our third year. We were actually doing very, very well economically, and looked as if we would not even need the amount of funds that had been asked for, or no, we weren't getting any funds. Up until then, we were doing it on our own. The only thing we would get from the Netherlands would be loans. So we would issue bonds and the Netherlands would give us loans. And they were with the CFT saying, no, we need better financial management. And we were on our way, 2/3 plus of the way to get there. And the hurricane hit, no reserves to be able to carry that, needing financing from them, and then falling into this discussion on, you need financing, then you must do this. You need financing, then you must do that. And we don't have a problem with having conditions, but the conditions must be related to the funding. Reforms take time, and the Netherlands themselves have taken 10 years to realize their pension reform. The same respect should be given to a growing country, and we have proven over the past 9 months that this government has been doing the diligence to bring St. Martin where it needs to go.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for addressing that question. As we close out this first segment, we're going to get into the second segment and discuss the topics, statements that were actually made by State Secretary Knops. Folks, stay with us. You're viewing and listening to Prime Minister Talks. Stay with us.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvia Jacobs.
Safety tips on how to use your mask. Wear your mask in public places. When removing your mask, properly take your mask off by grabbing the bottom ties of your mask, then the ties at the top, and remove the mask. When disposing the mask, discard the mask in the trash can and do not litter. Safety first. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth until washing your hands thoroughly for 20 seconds. These safety tips are brought to you by Collective Prevention Services and the Department. This hurricane season 2020 will be a difficult one. With the ongoing pandemic, it is essential to be even more prepared this season. Have your disaster kit ready with all the essentials. Make sure that you have enough canned foods and bottled water. Be sure to make copies of all your important documents and safely store them away. Have your first aid kit ready in case of any eventualities. Make sure to pre-plan and do what you have to do to secure your family. And finally, make sure you keep up to date and get your information from the official governmental communication sources and services of the Meteorological Department of St. Martin and the Department of Communication DCOM at Facebook.com/SXMGov, the website stmartingov.org/hurricane, the radio station 107.9 FM, and the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. This message is brought to you by the Government of St. Martin and the Department of Communication.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvia Jacobs.
Good afternoon, St. Martin. If you're just joining us, this is Prime Minister Talks. I'm Cedric Peterson from the Department of Communication alongside the Prime Minister of St. Martin, the Honorable Sylvia Jacobs. Welcome to the program. In our first segment, we closed off talking about the strengths that St. Martin's possess as an island that's capable of bouncing back, especially after the types of disasters that we've been dealing with since the passing of Irma and now in the height of a global pandemic. Prime Minister, you left off talking about those strengths, and I'm sure that there's some more that you'd like to add to that. For those that have just joined us in the program, can you continue to highlight what are the strengths of St. Martin?
Yes, definitely. Some of the strengths that we've mentioned is actually our geographical position, having the strong ports of entry. We, of course, have to work on some of our immigration reform and other things to strengthen that area to ensure that everyone who enters is here legitimately, can be functioning, can be providing us with developmental capability and not hurting us further. Of course, we don't want to go there anymore. These are areas that we know we need to strengthen, but based on where we are and some of what was already going on, we have several large hotels ready to be built. We have the airport construction happening. We have the hospital reconstruction happening. So there is possibility for an increase in our economic development over the next few months and years. And so we are in a better position as compared to, the two islands having oil refineries that are closed, having other situations that are not working in their favor, Aruba with its heavy debt, etc. So we don't have a large external debt. All of our debt has been internal, and we have been servicing our loans in a good manner. So we have been looking at diversifying our economy. We're in a perfect time to do that, seeing the many changes around the world and finding niche markets to expand even, because we have a pretty robust, diverse tourism industry, but looking at other industries where we can also be able to capitalize and therefore be less susceptible to the shocks externally when tourism is affected. So I think once we get the proper investments, and there are investors looking to help us out in that regard, that we should be able to get more economy running, and of course having some programs on via the World Bank at the moment as well, starting to roll out through the trust fund, will also generate some much needed funding within the community.
So you have infrastructural, business aspects, of course, opportunities that exist. But one of the key things, Prime Minister, that we can't forget nor ignore is the human resource capacity and the importance everyone plays, and of course the strength.
Yes.
Highlight a little bit or speak to that topic just a little as to reminding the community of St. Martin of their role.
Yes, so each and every one of us, we have, I've heard people say we've overused the resilience word, but that is who we are. We bounce back time and time again. And prior to COVID-19, this report about the small countries showed that St. Martin was economically on a point where we could really take off. We have to look at other areas where we can branch out. But as individuals, we have to, I think you've heard me say this before, follow our dreams. We cannot limit ourselves in what we think of ourselves anymore. We may be a small island, but we are large-minded. We have to see opportunities in this globalized world to be able to earn and export. So St. Martin made products. And I believe the Enterprise Support Project offers that opportunity for especially our small and medium enterprises to be able to get the necessary funding to reinvent themselves if they are existing businesses. And for those persons who may find themselves out of a job, but having a dream, if you can get that business plan together, there's an opportunity for funding through this Enterprise Support Project, which is collaborated between government and the NRPB. So it comes at a good time, an opportune time. We've been fussing about projects rolling out slowly, but right now, with our depressed economic situation, having projects rolling out right now is great for St. Martin. We're sorry, for instance, that the retraining program isn't able to continue past September, but we're still lobbying to get that back on the table. We're looking for every opportunity. And this is why also it's, you mentioned prior to the break, Mr. Knopf's statement in the second chamber that related to, but I can tie it in still because the people of St. Martin are who we've been trying to protect in fighting with the Dutch with these negotiations. The terms and conditions of our people to be able to get the much needed SSRP were brought down based on the fact that we had to adhere to their terms. We were offering 80%. They were like, nope, that's too much, 60%. Who is that hurting? It's hurting the people. So sending food packages through the Red Cross, not ensuring that we can collaborate as a Ministry of VSA, Social Welfare and Social Development to ensure that all the persons who need are actually getting, actually stops us from helping as many people as possible. So for us, we as people of St. Martin must be able to find ways to reinvent ourselves, find ways and means to earn our own money using the international markets. It is a depressed market, yes, but we're seeing that we had discussions prior about, for instance, come to St. Martin to work. We were having those discussions and then boom, Barbados announced it. But it's still possible. We may have to make adjustments. We have some infrastructural challenges, but definitely we are able to work. Several of our own people are working from home. So if people can come to St. Martin, where it is tranquil, where it is peaceful, where they can go to the beach and work from there even, we can promote that type of also, hub function and having that connection of being European, but not quite, and so close to the US market is something that many of the islands cannot boast of with the type of infrastructure that we have. So I'm really counting on the people of St. Martin to not lose hope, Cedric, to remain resilient within their hearts and in their faith, and to look at opportunities. Let's look for opportunities. We as government will do all we can, and trust me, we're cutting costs. We're ensuring that there is funding to be able to pay our civil servants and to pay our subsidy recipients. We are challenged with the income that we have right now to also sustain, for instance, the SSRP. That is the biggest crux of what we wouldn't be able to afford if we do not get the funding from the Netherlands. But what we have internally, we are able to sustain ourselves, we are able to sustain the people who we have, and if we continue to ensure that funds that have been lost in the past, that the compliance comes back to where it needs to be for those businesses who over the years have been profiting and not paying into their obligation to the government of St. Martin to be able to meet its own obligations to the society. And this is where now we have to increase and improve the systems to ensure that that type of advantage is no longer taken, so we can build up the necessary reserves so we never ever have to go to others again. Ensuring that we can spread our wings in terms of, right now, Aruba is able to go to third parties for financial assistance. Because of our CFT, we cannot just do that. We have to still submit again a bond. But we've done that in the past. We've done that in 2019. And the Netherlands did not subscribe, as law prescribes, to that loan so that we would be able to actually invest in the prison as has been planned, in the financial infrastructure for government, and improve our ability to meet the needs of the people of St. Martin.
Prime Minister, we're going to go into our next break. When we get back, we're going to continue to talk about those statements that Knops made, specifically as it relates to the fact that he mentioned that the discussion isn't about autonomy, but in fact about putting food on the table. That's going to be discussion, and your feedback on that, Prime Minister Talks, is coming your way right after this public service announcement. Stay with us.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvaria Jacobs.
Every day at the Civil Registry Department, we are confronted with at least one customer who did not pay attention to the expiration date of their passport, such as the Lockharts. To avoid this from happening to you and your family, we urge you to check the validity of your passport. If your passport is about to expire, please follow these simple steps to make an appointment. Visit appointments.stmartingov.org and follow the easy steps. All applicants must apply in person, last issued Dutch passport, 2 recent photos taken within 6 months. Minors must be present with legal guardians. Fee for adults, 210 guilders. Fee for minors, 150 guilders. Additional information can be requested. 4 weeks processing time. Your identity is your responsibility.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvaria Jacobs.
Good afternoon, St. Martin. Welcome to our final segment of Prime Minister Talks. I'm going to get right into it. PM State Secretary Knops making the statement that the discussion isn't about our autonomy or the autonomy of the islands. It's rather about the ability to put food on the table. What's your take on that?
Yes, that's definitely the importance for us to ensure that we could put food on the table and to be able to do so without having to beg the motherland. Our colonial powers, we can't say former anymore because we're still feeling the effects of it. Aruba, let's look at Aruba, doing everything that they had to do according to the wishes of the Netherlands. Can they put food on the table today? Why can't they put food on the table today with the funds from the Netherlands? Isn't it because they are fighting for their autonomy? All 3 of us see an issue with us as being former Netherlands Antilles, moving away, decolonizing ourselves or claiming to have decolonized ourselves, because that is also raising its head within our society. Has the decolonization process actually finished? And we will also look at that. It's not necessarily what's on the forefront of government's mind, but can we cut off our nose to spite our faces? We have survived worse than this if we go back to our true history as a people. And we have to understand sometimes we have to go through, as the butterfly, the struggles of breaking out of that cocoon to be able to spread our wings. Now, we are not independent fully, and we do have a dependency based on a mutual agreement, and we do have consensus laws in place, but they took sometimes 10 years of discussion. And not that we need to go 10 years in a discussion for reforms, but at least give us the opportunity to weigh in on what this law will look like. Is that a kingdom, or is that a top-down? Is that a kingdom of partners where one is stronger than the other 3 and saying, take it or leave it? And then we have a consensus, a forced consensus? We already don't have a dispute regulation. Where are we going if a group of people that say they have your best interest at heart refuses to help you, says we will help NGOs to help the people of St. Martin, and then come down and share out food packages because we are the great heroes while your government does nothing? No, our government is working on our reforms, the ones that don't require heavy investment. Our government is cutting costs. Our government is looking at ways to increase revenue to the country, and we're looking to assist those who have lost jobs or at risk of losing their jobs to keep them afloat. We're doing everything we can, and we are seeking alternative methods, just like Aruba has, because we cannot allow our people to starve while we fight for their rights. We want to do both simultaneously, and the Netherlands should be able to show their goodwill for the people of St. Martin without instituting that power over them. That will show us that you're ready to sit and have a discussion where we can consider ourselves equals. But as long as you continue to do this at us, then we cannot feel like we're truly partners in this. And I can feel the hurt that Evelyn Waver Cruz, as Prime Minister of Aruba today, feels, because this is how we've been feeling since July 10.
Yeah, I mean, it's very crucial that we unite as a kingdom, because that's the only way we're going to be able to survive, especially globally with these testy economic times. Which leads me right into our next question concerning cost-cutting measures, which is also a part of the debate. It's also part of our plan. We know that we have to tighten our belts here at home. Those cost-cutting measures, what have been implemented and what is currently being worked on?
We've already cut our own salaries as politicians on both sides. We have had discussions over and under on the 12.5% cut that was mandated with our agreement back then for our civil service. And in doing so, we have done everything. And I mean everything not to touch the salaries. Everything. Initially, our proposal to the unions was everybody over 8,000 guilders would have a 10% cut. We would take the 25. The unions didn't want any cuts. We said, okay, fine, no cuts. So we had to look everywhere. And that's what's been taking our finance ministry so long, to get an agreement from the CFT that, hey, these cuts also can count. So we've cut uniform costs. We've cut the travel, all travel. So everything is being done. We've cut telephone costs. We're looking at ways to reduce other costs that are standard overhead costs. We're looking at buildings. We're looking at moving. We own a building over here, moving that is partially empty, moving places where we're paying rent to get them into there to cut down our overhead costs. We're looking within the service. I've asked our personnel affairs, ensure that our people who are actually on the payroll are functioning, are at a high level of functioning, so we need less assistance from outside. So that means transferring people who are not in the setting where they're supposed to be, or who may have become ghost over the time because they're disgruntled, because they're actually ill. We have to resolve all those situations. And we must be able to see that these cost-cutting measures are sustainable as well.
PM, government's currently working, has been talking and mentioning through our Council of Ministers press briefings the importance of small and medium enterprise.
Yes.
Can you explain what is government currently working on in regards to these particular entities?
Yes, I must say that the entity that was established via the NRPB has come up through credits and the Windward Island Bank. Small and medium enterprises, new as well as existing ones, would be able to get loans and grants via an asset and repair, 65% grant, 35% loan, a working capital loan, which is a maximum of $60,000, which would be 100% loan, or the refinancing of all loans up to $20,000. So this is available as long as you come, and for new companies with a good business plan, and you must be a for-profit enterprise. You must have an average in the past or projected monthly revenue of 100,000 guilders over the last 2 years. If you're existing, you must be registered and up to date with your Chamber of Commerce and the Tax Administration of St. Martin, of course, compliant with St. Martin's environmental policy and World Bank social and environmental requirements, and you must be operating within an eligible sector to be able to come into consideration for these loans and grants. So this is an opportunity for businesses to redefine themselves, and I want to encourage people of St. Martin, if you have a dream, if you have a business idea, go for it. This is the best time to do so. The funding is available, and this is all funding that was actually within the trust fund after the hurricane period. So you're getting an opportunity to get more local entrepreneurs, which we have been promoting over and under.
Prime Minister, we have to close out the program because we have run out of time. I want to provide you with the opportunity to deliver your final words.
Well, for me, the final words, and this will be anytime I get the opportunity, will be one of hope. One of hope and one of faith. And the understanding that whatever our mind can conceive and we believe and put actions to those beliefs, they can be achieved. So let us work together, all sectors of St. Martin, individuals, government, and all stakeholders. Let us do this, and let's get a support of our people to stand behind government in this stance as we stand for you.
Prime Minister of St. Martin and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Saveria Jacobs. PM, thank you so much for being a part of this edition of the program. And to our radio listeners and televiewers, thank you for tuning in and being a part of Prime Minister Talks. If you missed the broadcast, be sure to log on for video on demand at the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin. That's facebook.com/SXMGOV. If you haven't subscribed to the official YouTube channel of the Government of St. Martin, be sure to do so at youtube.com/Government of St. Martin. And for radio replay, be sure to log on to St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, where you can hear Prime Minister Talks every day at 12 p.m. On behalf of the Cabinet of the Prime Minister and all of us here at the Department of Communication, I'm Cedric Peterson. Thanks so much for tuning in.